Renewable energy is the wave of the future. As more sectors pivot to the shift, this retail electricity supply unit of a top conglomerate has become the partner of choice for businesses sharing a common goal for a greener future. With the pandemic now way behind our rear view, the Philippine economy is experiencing a resurgence like no other. And to catch up for lost time comes a thirst for more energy to power our nation's racing economy. And with a peak power demand in the country projected to double by the year 2040, a tall order has been set for the power industry. And up to the task is the retail electricity supply unit of the Ayala Group, ready to power the nation with renewable energy. ACEN is the youngest company of the Ayala Group, and it was the conglomerate's first foray into the energy sector. So, what opportunities did the Ayala Group see back then?
I used to head up corporate strategy at the Ayala Group, and one of our early recommendations in terms of the new business or sector that Ayala would get into was power and infrastructure. Ayala decided to throw its hat in the ring, and we started the business from ground up, from 0 megawatt. With Ayala, of course, being at the forefront of sustainability, we wanted to focus on renewables. So our first investment was a modest $10 million investment, which is relatively modest compared to the size of the Ayala business, but we had to start somewhere. It was an investment in a 33 megawatt wind farm. But we quickly realized that renewables at the time will be so hard to scale up because it was still expensive and was not as reliable, because when the wind is not blowing, where do you get your power? And in the meantime, the country needed a lot of reliable and affordable power at that time. So we quickly realized that for us to really help the country with what the country needed at the time, affordable, reliable power, we had to get into coal. And that's why in the first 5 years, we decided to be a meaningful player in the Philippines, we would have to get to 1,000 megawatts of capacity in power. So the good news is we got there by 2015. The not so good news is 93% of the capacity was driven by coal plants and only 7% was renewables. So that was really our first 5 years, but at least we had the organization, the business, the scale, the profitability. So 2016 was an inflection point, the groundswell on sustainability, UN SDG goals and so forth. It was getting stronger. You know, the likes of multilateral banks were already not supportive of coal investments and so forth. So the tea leaves were turning, and we thought that it was a good time to shift and to redefine our market. We decided to do that strategic shift to defining our market as the regional renewables market.
So tell us, where is ACEN right now?
Well, since our strategic pivot over the last 6-7 years, it's a complete reversal. From a predominantly thermal company, we are now 98% renewables. We're now at about 4,500 megawatts, installed capacity of which 98% is renewables, and we are in 7 different markets. Of course, our largest and core market is the Philippines, but we also expanded into Indonesia, Vietnam, Laos, India, Australia, and recently in the US.
Last year, you announced ACEN's 2030 vision of 20 gigawatts by 2030.
Yes.
Is this still commitment? Are you still on the right track, and how do you plan to achieve this?
We set our 2025 vision, which is to reach 5 gigawatts by 2025. We set it in 2018, and lo and behold, we will achieve that mark 2 years ahead of schedule. I always believe that an organization should always have an aspirational yet attainable vision. About 12 months ago, we decided to launch our 2030 vision to rally the entire team behind that aspiration.
How does ACEN plan to address the kind of demand that the public needs?
Big picture-wise, we have a tight supply-demand situation now. And looking at 2030, the country is growing at about 5-6% demand growth every year. As an industry, we need to supply that growth in demand, in electricity demand, on top of addressing the current tightness. Government policy is very important, and one such important policy is the green energy option. As long as you have 100 kilowatts of peak consumption, you do qualify in terms of the ability to purchase from a renewable energy supplier like ACEN RES. A lot of business owners have a sense of purpose and a sense of responsibility, not only to the bottom line, but to the environment as well. There's less volatility compared to fossil fuel as well. So I think with the price stability and competitiveness, I think that's a very good proposition apart from the environmental sustainability proposition.
Where are you focusing right now?
We are already committed to be 100% renewable generation. So we will not invest future capex in coal and gas. We've already committed to our investors that we will focus on scaling up renewable energy generation. You need to address the customers' demands not only on sustainability but also the reliability and affordability. I think the good thing about renewables is you get rid of a lot of price volatility. And as a business owner, you want more price certainty and less of volatility. I think this recent energy crisis reminded us that whatever was cheap or viewed to be cheap in the past decade or so is not guaranteed to stay cheap forever in the future. Yeah. And that's what we've seen during the crisis, the Ukraine invasion and so forth. We are living in a volatile, uncertain world, and there's going to be more of these unknowns moving forward.